So Excel is pretty horrible, honestly, at finding the R value just because it won't tell you if it's positive or negative, so you've got to gauge it yourself. You can tell down here always because this is always the slope and it'll always match and sign what the slope had, but that's still pretty horrid, right? So there is another option, of course. There's StatCrunch. So let's remind ourselves, we go to Tools for Success and StatCrunch right there. You wait a second. And then if you have the data, you can copy and paste it in. I think it actually copies and pastes better from Excel than it will from Microsoft Word, but don't quote me on that. All right, so here it is right here. There's the data. And we go to Stat, Regression, Simple Linear. Click on that. It's going to say, what's your X variable? My X variable was the free reduced lunch. My Y variable is passing math. So what we're trying to see is, hey, do schools that have more free and reduced lunch, does that affect their math scores? Next. Don't worry about any of this stuff. We're not going to do this until later on in the course. Next. We don't really need any of these right now. So you can just ignore them and press next. It's fine. If you want, it can plot lines for you. You can have residual plots, QQ plots. We'll be working with all this stuff a little bit later in this chapter. So it's got some other plots available to you. We don't care about any of that. So calculate. All right, right up here. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. See the correlation coefficient? See that portion right there? It's giving it to you. Okay, so you can grab it right here, like that. Okay, so there's the correlation coefficient, just like that. Or another option would be to take that window that we had, which is right here, and you can copy and then just go paste it into Excel. I'll paste it down here just for the heck of it. There it is, right? And Alana, your instructor, can tell, or any other instructor I suppose you have, that you did this all with StatCrunch. This wasn't done by hand, and that's fine. And you can see it right there. See it? Correlation coefficient is negative 0.6879. Perfect. All right, so R equals, matter of fact, I'm just going to go grab it right from that Excel thing. By the way, sometimes they'll capitalize it, sometimes they won't. Don't freak out about it. It's the same, either capitalized or not capitalized. Okay? Now, what type of relationship does this mean? So if it's negative 0.6879, remember that's a negative linear relationship. It's between negative 0.79 and negative 0.5. So we would say it's a moderately strong negative linear relationship. Now, why does that make sense in terms of the context? Well, we never really went over the context, so let's go over it now. What we're looking at is the public schools in Sandusky, Ohio, that region, public high schools. And so what you're looking at is saying, okay, for this school, 29% of the students are either on free lunch or reduced lunch. And this is the percent that pass math, right? And then the next school is 29% on free reduced lunch, 59% pass the math test, and so on. So it makes sense that, and you can see it in the graph here. Oops, up here. There you go. The schools that have less students on free reduced lunch, actually, hold on, let me pause. I'm just adding in some titles here so it makes it easier for us to understand. So this is the percent of students on free reduced lunch. And then add another. Remember, we learned these in chapter 2, how to do this. This is the percent of students that pass the math class, or math test, excuse me, the state math test. Okay, oopsie. There we go. So what you're seeing is schools that have more students on free reduced lunch are lower in test scores than students that are, schools that have less students on free reduced lunch. Let me go type that up. Hold on. There you go. So schools that have more students on free reduced lunch have lower math scores. Probably because if students are hungry, then they can't focus on studying math. There, and that's what I just typed up. If students are poor and hungry, they've got other things to worry about than math class.